Okay. All right. Welcome, Jay, to a one-on-one interview, and I'm excited about talking to you today.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. I've interviewed you a couple of times, but it's been so long. I don't expect you to remember a thing. It was back in like 2007 and then 2009 for Rumor Has It. So it's been,
Oh my
oh,
gosh. I was wondering when that show was. 2009. Good.
yeah, yeah. I looked up everything and then I was like, wow, it's been a long time. And I'm so excited that you're, coming back to Chicago. I think you've only been here, what, a few times?
Just a handful. I did Oprah there, so you're just in and out. And then I also did like a little pop-up performance at midnight at a club. Oh my gosh, probably 2010. And then I also went maybe 5 or 6 years ago to see Wayne Brady play Burr in Hamilton in Chicago. And that was it. Just like really quick in and out trips. So it was really fun to be able to go this time and actually kind of do what I think is like the most me, which is cabaret. I feel like it's even close friends who know me well have never seen my cabaret show. When they come for the first time, they're always like, I didn't know I didn't know you could do this. It's not it's such a an intimate vehicle because it's partially a concert, but it's just a lot of storytelling and that's a specific skill set that I don't get to showcase too often. And so that is layering those two things together in such an intimate environment is like my sweet spot. That's like my happy place.
Yeah. How do you pick your stories that you're going to tell? Are they revolved around the songs or how does that work?
Usually it's like I'll have a theme, especially if I frequent a specific cabaret spot. So this way it's my take on this, or, I remember one was called Dirty Little Secrets. So that whole thing was kind of sharing things I'd never talked about before and finding, a message in a mess, kind of vibe. And then at 54 Below, which I did this fall, that one was about like love, sex, and relationships and my journey through it, which is always kind of somewhere in the show. And I think this one in Chicago, because I don't really know very well the people of Chicago, and this is somewhat of an introduction, it's kind of like J101. It's kind of going through some things that people may know about me professionally, but definitely sharing things that they've never known specifics about, and navigating who I am today. Because I think sometimes we fall in love with people on television or on stage, and we feel a closeness to them, an affinity for them, certainly, but we don't know much about them. And so I feel like cabaret is the space, unlike a concert, where you really get to understand the artists and their journey, and and that piece is what I look forward to most, especially because I get to pull some songs that I haven't done in a while because the venues I played have heard them too much. And then also trying out some new stuff. And then I'm really excited for the Rent moment because can't do a cabaret without doing the show that I did for 5 years. So I'm doing the duet of I'll Cover You, which the angel character is what I played, but in my cabaret in Chicago, Ginger Minge will be singing that part each night. So I'll have a bona fide celebrity drag queen in the role of Angel, and I, in the ultimate role reversal, will be playing the role of Collins in that. So that'll actually really be fun for me.
Oh my God. How much
I
fun.
hope Ginger knows there's a kiss at the end of that number because she's got to lay one on me every night.
Ah,
I
well, what were
forgot to
the
mention that
odds?
to her. Yeah. Just because of professionalism, I have to be true to the script.
Yes, yes. I love Ginger's show recently. The Broadway one was so I thought it was just so well put together and all the parodies were so much fun.
Yeah, agreed. I thought what I saw her show in LA, and what it gave me was license and permission to unbutton a button. In New York at 54 Below, I felt the extreme weight of this is where Patti LuPone performs. Like there has to be an element of professionalism and buttoned up musical theaterness. And I pushed the envelope with that. I certainly sang things that were a little blue. I would say my show is rated R, leave the kids at home, but I had a mindfulness to do like standards and I wanted it to be a shiny homecoming to a city I hadn't performed in over 17 years. And I wanted to really have a heavy emphasis on I'm no longer the little boy that used to run around in glittery cutoff shirts in New York. I am a grown fully realized man now, and here's that. When I saw Ginger's show, there was so much play and there was so much joy that I had to reevaluate my set list and give myself permission to put songs that are a bit more tongue in cheek in the show, and including the stories. And I feel like, when you perform in a theater, especially someone like me who has never performed at the Venus and I don't know it very well other than pictures, you're like, oh God, what do I have to do to fit into this space? But instead, I think seeing her show, it was so authentically her. There's this one moment where she sings the Mama Rose song, and she was talking to me recently during an Instagram live about how she was like, I at first was going to make it funny. I wanted to do it earnestly, but I didn't think the audience would be on board for that. And then her partner in the show was like, you need to just do it. They'll be along for the ride. And boy, could you hear a pin drop, because the whole show, she's camp. And in this one moment, she draws you in, and there's a strength and a power that you see in her performing this number, that I was like, okay, so it's not about like doing whatever fits the venue. It's about being your most authentic self in this space. And Ginger said this one thing: you can't lie in cabaret. It's like the audience can tell. It can't be performative for performance sake. It's sharing your truth in stories and in music.
Okay. Well, and I will say Chicago audiences are they're in general, they try a lot of Broadway shows here, and we're a really good audience. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I notice that some shows don't understand how intelligent Chicago audiences are and how we know our theater, and like the gay people that will be there for this will be there for you. So I think you'll have a
Yeah.
good time. You don't have to feel tons of pressure or anything. We're just
I'm
cool.
excited for it. I think, yeah, I think one of the things as I was piecing the show together, I was like, oh God, they don't know this or they don't know that. And so you're putting in numbers, you're putting in stories or talking points. And when I did the show in New York, I think Broadway World said it was like an intimate evening, sharing a cocktail with a friend. And I love that sentiment. I want to maintain that. But I'm also just excited to get to like, start developing a bit of a presence in Chicago, because I would love to come back.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, what's your favorite musical of all time?
Oh my God, you're wearing it. It's wicked.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I just feel like it's the perfect show. Granted, there's not a role for me in that. It's a woman's show. It's about these two strong women who have the best numbers in the piece, but I think it's also a show about that shows that we are more than just one thing. And I think that's the piece that I relate to so much. We all know the story of the Wicked Witch of the West, but uncovering the layers there and the why. I've always been kind of an empathetic person who, when someone is being gruff or they're coming at me in a way that I don't understand, the first that I have is like, I wonder what they're going through. Why am I getting this undeservedly? Like, what's happening under there for them? And that show kind of does that really well, not judging the book by its cover, and obviously some the melodies. I am actually doing a Wicked song in the show, so
Oh, okay.
Wicked.
I've heard people that have seen the dailies for the new movie and said it's just incredible. So
Yeah, I feel it is, and I on um my accompanist in LA was playing the auditions, and one of the things he said was that when people were coming in, they were doing a version of Kristen Chenoweth. So what actor A was doing, like
mhm.
a Kristen Chenoweth impersonation. He's like, and that's all we saw until Ariana came in and was herself, and was not herself, but like a modern how Glinda would be in 2024. And it was such a fresh new take that they're like, oh my God, she is Glinda, So I think that was must have been refreshing. But I also understand when there is like source material, it's tricky because you don't know as an actor how far to stray from it. I mean, even me joining the cast of Rent, I loved Wilson Heredia's version, but there was elements of it that just didn't fit. And so you find your way to make it your own while still honoring the text.
Yeah. I was wondering what you thought of, like The Color Purple and Mean Girls, and why these some audiences are not getting the musical part or something. I was just wondering what your.
I loved The Color Purple. Like I actually just watched it again at home after seeing it twice in theaters. I loved it. I mean, I saw Wicked opening night, so that show has a special place in my heart. But when it comes to Color Purple, I saw Fantasia do it. And I remember years ago seeing her do it, and I was like, oh my God, she was born to play this role. There was an authenticity to the character that she brought, this raw vulnerability that it just fit. So I love that. Mean Girls, I saw the musical in Los Angeles, the tour, and I didn't leave humming any of the songs. I didn't find them memorable for me. I remember belly laughing at some of the moments, you know, and I went to a screening of it, of Mean Girls, I think in December in New York, and it was cute, but it didn't hook me in the way I'd imagine that Wicked will. But that's because I didn't get hooked on the musical. And I think when you have a movie like Mean Girls that's so iconic, so quotable, it's going to be hard to impress people with a musical version of it.
Mhm.
Although Devil Wears Prada with Vanessa Williams, I'd go see that.
Yeah, we so we had Boop the musical that came here, and
That
Jerry.
looked good.
Yeah, I got to interview Jerry for that, and he was actually flying out to England to work on those songs and
Burlesque.
yeah, yeah, for all that.
Doing burlesque as well, I believe. And I was so bummed I did a reading of burlesque, and I think Todrick is playing that role, which obviously it's so built for him. I think the Cher role is now sort of an androgynous male character, but
Oh,
yeah, I think Jerry Mitchell is like a true visionary. So when I saw all the video promos of Boop, I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna be good."
it was really good. But yeah, he was working with Elton John and Vanessa Williams out, and to get that all fixed up. And
I think Vanessa, how that was not the person that opened it is wild. Like
yeah.
when they shot that video promo for all of us to see to announce her, and I was like, oh, like it was gay gasps were happening across social media in
uh,
the way they should have. You know, that's a hard role to cast because they need to have the musicality and the chops to play this part, but also like the sense of what Meryl brought to that role that we've all grown so familiar with. That can't be absent. And I think Vanessa's going to nail it because she played that character or a similar character in Ugly Betty. It's a perfect fit.
Absolutely. So you've been friends with Wayne Brady for a really long time.
Yeah.
When did you know he was part of our community? How did that, what was that?
I mean, I'm glad I don't have to keep it a secret. No, I didn't really, I wouldn't say I knew. I think I had an understanding and I think we'd had conversations, but I think he was on a journey. And I feel like people share when they're ready to share. I actually did not get like I'm about to do it message, but when he did, I did text him, your toaster's in the mail. Um, but I think what's beautiful about the way he came out was the family knew. His daughter knew, his ex-wife, Mandy, who he's still best friends with and business partners with, and her partner now. They're this modern mixed family all supporting him. I mean, he's such a solid guy. And, it tracks for me that he'd be like pansexual and just love the person because he's just such a generous, kind guy. Um, and I'm just happy. I'm very nosy, so I'm like kind of low key curious. Like, are you dating anybody? Like, can I? I'll give you the Yelp review because I might know them, you know. And also, it might be a woman, it might be a man. Who knows? He's left it open, but he
Yeah.
is definitely. I will tell you this: I was on an Atlantis cruise performing, and I think my shows were like later in the week, or maybe it was the first night. I don't remember. But on Monday, Rich Campbell, who owns the cruise ship, was owns Atlantis, the company, was like, we have an issue. We have a major celebrity comedian who pulled out last minute. Can you get us any A-lister to perform in like 2 days? And we were at sea. And I'm like, so who do I think of? Wayne. I'd already seen his show, improvisational show, where it's him and a piano player who has like the electric keyboards that can make music like sound like the radio, and they'll pull someone on stage, get some prompts from them, and Wayne will improv a song. He's so good with his improvisational show. I knew it would be a great fit for the cruise. So I just didn't know if Wayne would feel comfortable boarding a ship of Speedo-clad men. I didn't know if that'd be the ministry. And so I reached out. I was like, look, they're in a pinch. They have money, and you would just do 2 shows in one night. Here's the situation. And he was like, okay, here's my agent, like put him in touch. They paid his fee. He was on a plane the next day. He did 2 shows. We did I'll Cover You with a kiss at the end in front of the homosexuals. So he's always been an ally. And I think he's never brought anyone around that I think he might have been dating or anything. So I'm just happy that now he can just live authentically, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and speaking of kissing, you almost kissed Bowen Yang and Nora. It was so close, right? Or was it?
So close. Missed it just a hair. Yeah, I did Nora from Queens. That's a funny story. I was going to do the Bros Red Carpet. And when you're in a movie like that, if you're not, one of the main leads, they're not flying you out, but they'll invite you to the red carpet premiere. So I told my agent, I was like, look, I gotta go. It's the first time I'm like a lead in a major motion picture. I need to I need to show up and walk the carpet. He said, great. I said, if there's anything going on in New York work-wise. And lo and behold, this like little guest star came up, and and it was shooting that very day. So I remember shooting it and being like, are you going tonight? Because Bowen's in it too. And he was like, I literally have to shoot, so I can't. But with all the big career highlights he has right now, including being in Wicked and all these other things, SNL, I'm like, going to a red carpet for a movie like Bros, I'm sure he was like, nah, it's fine. I can miss it. It's okay. He's booked and blessed and constantly working. And, I'm really happy for him. He's like one of those really nice, really smart people that good things are happening for. And yeah, I mean, it's wild beyond my wildest dreams. I remember covering it in radio when I was hosting Channel Q morning show, that Bowen Yang was, Asian, and that he was a gay man, queer person, and that he was going to be at SNL. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like, if you told me as a kid that there'd be queer people on SNL, I would have never believed you,
I just remembered you actually interviewed me for your radio show during
Yeah.
the Jussie Smollett stuff because I had interviewed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that's what we did, a call in. So I forgot all about that we had talked then.
Yeah.
So I look forward
I
to
get
meeting face to face. We haven't really done that, so that'll be great when you're in town.
for sure.
Yeah. And how did you wind up playing straight in Bros? That's what I was like. Okay.
So this is a really interesting story. So I mostly audition for straight characters. I'm not 25 Twinkie, and there's not a lot of, they're getting better with queer roles and what they look like. But the bulk of what I do is like, even like Bosch Legacy, I was playing a womanizing cop, it's like the Queer Eye so far removed from the ether of casting directors who probably don't even remember I was on a Queer Eye. So all they're seeing is my work. We no longer meet in person, so they're just getting tape. And when I recorded that tape, I remember being so sad when I sent it in, and I thought, what a shame. This is such a good, solid audition. I'm not going to get it because they're going to Google me. Someone in Judd Apatow's company is going to be like, an old gay, and be like, oh, that's the little gay from Queer Eye, and I'm not going to get it. And so I first auditioned to play his love interest in like December. Didn't hear anything. Then like July of the next year, I sent in a tape to play his love interest, straight broy brother. Went great, sent it in, didn't hear anything. Almost 2 months later, I got the call, and I was in the car, and I pulled over and cried because it was such a profound moment. I did not at the time know that the entire cast would be LGBTQ plus people in leading roles, but most importantly, I liked that it was really about the work. And then when Nicholas, who's the director writer, was like, you were so good. Like you were a couple lines into your tape, and we were like, we have to have him. That was really validating because I come from an era where we were told if you are out, you're never going to be able to play. You've just cut your opportunities to work in half, if not more. Oh, there's my little ring light died. But anyway, it was really, really a great moment. Because I loved it, and that's sort of how that came to be. I mean, I that's like a typical Jay Rodriguez role that I auditioned for. And outside of, I guess, like Uncoupled, which is more like Fabulous Rich Gay. I don't know. I'm very curious now, post writer strike, post actor strike, what and the conversations that have been had about disparities in the industry and who gets what and why. Curious to see what the roles are going to be,
Mhm.
Um, they're the queer roles I get are definitely that I've auditioning for are definitely a little bit more multifaceted than they used to be. They used to be just the punchline, and you're like, all right, that's it.
Yeah, and I wonder if we'll get to the point. So what what it is like the straight world always wants to give a straight person an award for playing a LGBT character, right? Like
Yeah.
they don't, but they don't think of it the other way. They don't go,
Oh, brave.
right, right. So they don't do that to, oh, he played a straight guy. Let's give him an award. Like maybe one day
Right.
get to that
It
point.
doesn't work in reverse. I've tried it. But
Mhm.
I think in the same token, it's like if you're in it for the accolades, you're going to be in it for the wrong reasons and be disappointed. But I will say, the shift I do like now is it's kind of more on the work because I don't have a personal relationship with casting anymore. None of us do. We send in tapes, which feels disconnected and feels like it's missing a step because back in the day you'd get to like work with someone and you'd go in and have a take and they'd be like, I think it needs to be more of this. Now you don't have that. However, now I can also do it a million times at home until I'm satisfied and then I send that version in. We'll see. I mean, I'm very curious to see what the shape of things will be.
Mhm. Well, I mean, you've done so great in your career. I mean, you really hustled and kept working and done all, so much.
I try to stay busy.
Is there one thing you'd want to accomplish that you haven't done yet? Do you have like a one big thing?
Ooh, I think be series regular on a procedural, either medical or legal drama. I like those. Um, those are really fun. I like this series regular. Guest stars are great. You come in, you have one episode, you cause havoc, you leave. The idea of having a team of people writing and playing to your strengths is really that's fun. But my heart is really set on doing a Latin family sitcom, because I love sitcoms. Live audience reminds me of theater, and we don't have any at the moment. So
Oh gosh. Okay, we got to make that happen, and then
yeah,
we could get like Chicago Med or Chicago Fire, something.
I was on hold for one of the Chicago's back in think it was December. Yeah. It was when I was doing the Queer Eye reunion show in December in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I had I had been pinned for Chicago. I think maybe it was Chicago Med. I was in a hospital scene. That was the bulk of it. And then ultimately they released the pin. And I was like, oh, because I was excited about going to Chicago.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think I interviewed Tom around that time. What is your favorite just takeaway from Queer Eye? Just one big takeaway that you know.
Probably that I think um it shaped the way culture and humans around the world saw five gay men. I won't say all gay people, but I think it softened relations with, allowing people who were like, I can't be friends with a gay person, they'll make me gay. I think a bit of that started to get unpacked and put aside when, we were being celebrated for being our authentic selves. Five people cannot represent an entire community. So we were in no way representing the entire LGBTQ family. But it was a window in, and there was. I mean, I remember dating a psychologist who was like, "Oh my God, my textbook is referencing you as one of the pivotal moments in queer acceptance." But I think we stand on the shoulders of the people who are the unsung heroes, fighting for queer rights for decades before we were on the scene. And I think the generation that grew up with the small crack in the door that we opened now demand to be seen, to be visible, and to be respected, and to have equal rights. It's a given for them. Where I think our generation was kind of more tiptoeing around it because it seemed like such a challenge. And I think I'm really inspired by, I think, the impact that Queer Eye had and continues to have.
That made me think of when my relative was watching. She's like, watch this show. It's like she related to me finally as a gay person
Yeah.
because of that show. And now they do it
I
with
think
RuPaul's Drag Race as a
right, right. And
um,
people, I think, couldn't have exposure. So you're basically saying, look, here we are. Here's the truth of who we are. I mean, this is back when there just wasn't, you'd have a gay person on maybe like, The Real World. Ooh, it wasn't, you didn't have five guys who were out unapologetically. Now what, on TV at that time. Now it's everywhere. And we see even like people like Anderson Cooper are out of the closet, like news reporters. And we have fixtures in the ether, even in politics, who are queer and proudly so. But as much as a generation moves forward, there'll always be people trying to pull you back into the dark days. So I think I'm inspired by the youth of today and how aggressive they are on pushing that back, like pushing back the hate.
Sure. The other queer guys just loved you, and they looked at like themselves as big brothers towards you, and I know they've always
Yeah.
just said things about you.
They definitely, it was like being in a fraternity. I definitely got my fair share of hazing. But it was fun. We had a good time. And I think the magic is when we get together, that all comes back. And we are touring a show as well. It's like a stage show, and we're just trying to align schedules to get the next couple dates in place. But I thought it was just gonna be like a Q&A, like a Comic-Con panel. No, it is like a full produced show, and we're so surprised at how well it went that all of us are interested in doing more. So hoping to come to Chicago at some point.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited you're coming with the cabaret show, and look forward to seeing it and seeing what you
Yay.
create. And
Thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.
yeah, thanks for taking the time for this, and I'll see you in Chicago soon. And safe travels, and see you
Sounds
there.
good. Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
All right, bye. Thank you.